We're on our way to the Veterans Memorial in Anthem, Arizona. What a selfie stick, huh?
It works.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed as twilights fast gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched, so gallantly streaming, and rockets and rockets bombs bursting in gave through the night, and our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the
It was my honor and privilege to lead the team that founded, developed, and built this awesome monument and memorial to veterans of our armed services. The memorial was dedicated on November 11th, 2011, and since then, this site has hosted numerous public and private ceremonies honoring those who serve in uniform. More than 1,600 pavers have been laid in the Circle of Honor. Thousands have attended ceremonies here, with millions of others learning about this memorial on the web and in various social and other media. Today we celebrate our 7th Veterans Day ceremony, continuing Anthem's commitment and tradition to honor our servicemen and women and their families. Our audience and our community are full of distinguished veterans. If you get a chance today, please meet one of them, or 2 or 10, and thank them. This memorial behind me is Anthem's lasting thank you from a grateful community. And now may I introduce your MC. Jenna Kohl is Anthem's Community Executive Officer. She's served in this demanding leadership role for the last 7 years. Jenna was one of the original members of the team that founded this memorial. She was the key link between the project team and the council and staff. Her dedication to the project and to veterans has been unwavering. I would be remiss if I didn't also mention that she's from a family of service, as her sister served honorably in the Coast Guard. When I was asked to recommend somebody to be the MC, I could think of no one better suited than Jenna Kohl. Jenna.
And welcome to the Anthem Veterans Memorial for our annual Veterans Day ceremony. I am particularly honored to participate in this year's ceremony, not only because it is one of my greatest honors as your CEO to be part, but also because of the focus this year on honoring female military service members. I have a connection to both. As Admiral Tucker mentioned, my sister Emily served in the United States Coast Guard and was stationed in California, Michigan, and overseas in Bahrain. My family is incredibly proud of Emily's decision to join the Coast Guard, protecting our homeland on the seas. Her service is commemorated with a paver in the Circle of Honor and gives special meaning to my family and me on Veterans Day and every day. Today, you will hear from 3 amazing women. 1, a decorated Marine veteran, 1, a combat Army veteran, and one, perhaps, an aspiring veteran, about their thoughts on service, democracy, and what it means to have a voice. Following World War I, United States President Woodrow Wilson was the first to proclaim a day for veterans. It was originally known as Armistice Day, as it marked the anniversary of the closure of World War I, which formally ended at the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month of 1918 with the signing of the armistice. In 1947, a World War II veteran, Raymond Weeks, organized a National Veterans Day in Birmingham, Alabama, that included a parade and other festivities. Weeks then led a delegation to General Eisenhower, who himself supported the idea of a National Veterans Day. On May 26, 1954, President Eisenhower signed into law November 11th as the new national holiday to honor all veterans and their service to this nation. On June 1st, 1964, Congress amended the act to replace the term armistice with veterans, and we now know this day as Veterans Day. Raymond Weeks received the Presidential Citizens Medal from President Reagan in November 1982 for his contributions honoring veterans. The Daisy Mountain veterans and the Anthem Veterans Memorial participate in the Vietnam War Commemoration Program. President Obama designated this program as an official national proclamation on May 25, 2012, and proclaimed that from May 28, 2012 through November 11, 2025, our nation would commemorate and honor Vietnam War veterans, as their service was not properly recognized at the end of the war. The official 50th anniversary Vietnam War flag flies over the memorial each Veterans Day and Memorial Day, commemorating 2,594,000 U.S. soldiers deployed to South Vietnam and the 58,220 U.S. Armed Forces who died or remain missing. Their battles were fought in jungles, over mountains, and through oceans and rivers, or as we say, over land, air, and sea. We have the special privilege today to welcome a young woman to the podium, one who might stand here one day, herself a veteran, or whose paver or that of a loved one may rest in the circle of honor. Whether or not she chooses to serve, she already has chosen to exercise her voice of democracy in order to honor veterans. The essay she wrote is part of the Veterans of Foreign Wars National Essay Contest, titled Courage, earned her a trip to Washington, D.C. last spring to represent Arizona for the final round of competition. Would you please help me welcome Shana Edwards from Prescott High School to read her essay for us and to give us a little more insight as to how we can be courageous in our fight on and off the field for our country.
Before giving my speech, I would like to thank Anthem's Community Council for this wonderful opportunity to speak at this amazing memorial. I would like to direct my thanks to the many wonderful men and women who have selflessly served who are serving in our nation's armed forces. My speech is titled, My Responsibility to America. A young, newly widowed woman falls to the ground. Time seems to slow, her memory flashing back to that one time, that one day, that she remembers her love, her greatest love, leaving her for the last time. Her body is wrapped with sobs, and the entire world seems to shake beneath her pulsing body. She suddenly remembers her 4-year-old son, who stands 5 feet away, filled with an innocent curiosity, watching his mother. She stands up, wipes away the tears, and seems to draw all the little remaining strength she can muster. The little boy walks over to his mother and slips his steady little hand into her shaking one, unknowingly giving her strength to move her legs and take that one step into the chasm her future has become. The young widow doesn't know it, but her actions embody the spirit of America. Her courage, her strength to be strong for her child represents the most important part of our country. This courage, this conviction, is truly every American's duty to the country they live in, not only to improve themselves or become the best, but for the widows, orphans, veterans, serving soldiers, and the dead, who mustered up their courage, followed their convictions, and took their own step into the unknown. Courage, as defined by Merriam-Webster Dictionary, is the ability to do something that one knows is difficult or dangerous. This rather routine description of the word shows just a small window into the depth of the most powerful ability in the world. This ability provides the possessor to own their convictions, follow their soul, and understand the very core of their being, their conscience. Some may say this ability is common, a generality that every human has. In my little experience in the subject, I have noticed that every human has the ability to be courageous, but most choose not to, allowing courage to become something abnormal. This abnormality does not apply to soldiers, who learn to live through courage while fighting in the battlefields of Europe, Vietnam, Afghanistan, and Iran. They understand the courage and conviction I must uphold to fulfill my own responsibility to America. Furthermore, these soldiers have known and experienced far more life. They have learned more about the savagery of men than the average American will ever know in their lifetime. These soldiers truly know what courage looks like, smells like, tastes like, sounds like, and feels like. Their sacrifice of their own ignorance to provide a better world for all truly deserves a high amount of respect. That is to say, the disabled veterans sitting at McDonald's, reading a newspaper and sipping coffee. The one who does not look up when a young girl says, "Thank you for your service, sir," still does not deserve any less respect. These dauntless men and women won't attribute their deeds to some superhuman characteristic. Instead, they will tell you that they just followed their conscience and their gut, which inspired their courageous acts. Hence, I am therefore convinced that every American citizen has the qualities required for undertaking brave deeds. So what can I do? I am a lowly high school student at the bottom of the social class. I'm not a soldier, corporate manager, business owner, or a celebrity. But I have one advantage over all these people. I am part of the future of this great nation. This great nation has required courage of the people in its past, in its present, and it will require courage in the future. I owe this great nation, the people who have fought for my rights, my freedom to stand here, passionately talking about a subject I believe in. I owe them this courage. I owe them this conviction to follow my conscience into the unknown. The great part is, not everyone will agree with me. No one upholds the exact same conscience or has the exact same convictions, but everyone has courage, and I know that I must use my courage to better the world around me, to fight for what I believe in, and to follow my conscience, even if the consequences are dire. Others around me may do the same, and that's the spirit of America. This use of personal courage to fight for what one believes in. So this struggle of convictions becomes a great thing, a compound, which forms the true American heritage. John F. Kennedy writes in his book, Profiles in Courage, "In whatever arena of life one may meet the challenge of courage, whatever may be the sacrifices he faces if he follows his conscience, each man must decide for himself the course he will follow. I decide to undertake the responsibility I have to America, have courage, follow my convictions, and listen to my conscience." Thank you.
At this time, I'd like to invite Sergeant First Class Krishonda Gray forward to give us a little more insight into our women in the military.
Good morning. I'm Sergeant First Class Krishonda Gray, and I serve as a recruiter for the United States Army Career Center here in Anthem. It is an honor to salute my fellow women in our country's armed services. Women honored at this memorial in this audience in Anthem, across the world, fight for our nation's freedom. In fact, more than 214,000 women currently serve in our nation's military. 76,000 of them in the United States Army, with an additional 589,000 in the Army National Guard and Reserves. More than 1.8 million hold the title of veteran, 96 of whom were held as prisoners of war. Many people do not realize that as early as the Revolutionary War, women disguised themselves as men in order to serve their country. In fact, Margaret Corbin, the first female to receive a military pension, fought in the Revolutionary War. After her husband was killed, she stepped up to command his cannon, becoming injured in the process. Another woman, Dr. Mary Edwards Walker, served as a surgeon for the Union forces and kept as a prisoner of war by the Confederacy. She was awarded the Medal of Honor in 1917. It was later revoked. But 70 years later, the United States Armed Forces restored her name to the Medal of Honor Hall of Fame. Throughout the U.S. history, women frequently provided military support to form of medical aid. During the Spanish-American War, 1,563 women served as nurses. But it wasn't until the end of the First World War that women were officially allowed to enlist in the Army and Navy. More than 33,000 women enlisted in this manner, and 400 died in the line of duty. In the Second World War, over 400,000 women enlisted to serve in America, Europe, and Asia as ambulance drivers, pilots, nurses, and administrators, among other roles. More than 400 women lost their lives, and 88 were captured and held as prisoners of war. In more recent history, the United States Marine Corps in 2009 introduced a revolutionary program to engage Afghani citizens on the front lines. Female engagement teams were trained and deployed to build relationships with Afghani women and children in remote areas of the country. These special units aim to break down culture barriers in order to help the U.S. military conduct security searches, obtain information, and provide aid to the people of Afghanistan. There is no limit to what women can do to serve our country. It's what we've been doing all along.
It is now my great privilege to introduce you to today's keynote speaker, a powerful woman and a proud Marine. Sergeant Major Jenna Simmons conducted 3 overseas deployments in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom. Most recently, she served as the Battalion Sergeant Major for Wounded Warrior Battalion West, headquartered at Camp Pendleton, California. She has been bestowed multiple awards, including the Meritorious Service Medal, Navy and Marine Corps Commendation Medal, and the Navy and Marine Corps Achievement Medal. The Sergeant Major recently retired from service. Before the ceremony today, a paver bearing her name, rank, and service years was placed in the Circle of Honor. Simmons is a native of Snow Hill, North Carolina, and is married with 2 children and 2 grandchildren. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Sergeant Major Jennifer Simmons.
Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, and our dear veterans, it is my great honor to be asked to speak at today's ceremony in which we celebrate our nation's heroes. Veterans Day is a federal holiday dedicated to American veterans of all wars. From my readings and my research, I found that there was a lot of back and forth and confusion because the act approved on May 13, 1938 made November 11 a legal holiday dedicated to the cause of world peace and to be hereafter celebrated and known as Armistice Day. Armistice Day was predominantly a day set aside to honor veterans of World War I. But in 1954, after World War II mandate of maximum mobilization in our nation's history of soldiers, airmen, and of course, the Marines, led to the amendment of the Act of 1938. Thanks to the persistence of veteran service organizations urging their 83rd Congress to strike out the word armistice and insert the word veterans in its place. Veteran service organizations coupled with the voice of the American people is a combination of a lot of historical and patriotic significance that pushed Congress to write the new legislation law, signed by President Gerald Ford, making the observation of Veterans Day November 11. With this legislation approval, November 11th became a day to honor American veterans of all wars. Today we honor our heroes, remembering their achievements, their courage, bravery, and their sacrifices by answering their call to duty, to defend and honor at any cost our great nation, the United States of America. These heroes are ordinary people who responded in extraordinary ways, doing extremely extraordinary times. They rose to the nation's call because they wanted to protect our nation, which has given them, their family, and all of us so much. Although as a nation, we owe a debt to the veterans that we can never pay in full. As our show of appreciation, communities such as Anthem put together ceremonies as today to ensure the remembrance of our nation heroes and their actions, their sacrifices, and we tell their stories of why they had to be courageous for us. Only true heroes have the courage and the strength to go overseas to foreign countries and combat zones to fight for the freedom of total strangers. They deserve so much, and especially those who gave the ultimate sacrifice. Today, our servicemen and women continue to make the ultimate sacrifices, and even as we lose troops, more and more Americans step forward, raise their right hand to swear in by reciting the oath. With excitement and sincerity, they say, "I am ready to serve my country and follow in the footsteps of generations of fine Americans." There is a reason we take the oath of office each time new recruits join one of the branches of the armed forces, re-enlist, or get promoted. It is to remind us that we swear to support and defend the fundamental law of our land and our Constitution. I'm here to remind everyone that freedom is not free. The service members we honor today came from all walks of life, but they all possess the qualities of courage, commitment, determination, selflessness, and dedication to duty, which are the necessary qualities for those called to serve our great nation and be a part of something that is bigger than themselves. Millions of Americans have fought and died on the battlefields to defend our freedoms and our way of life. They ship to foreign countries and fight along our allies and against total strangers. They hunt down the terrorists to maintain peace and order. There is not a moment when their lives are not in danger. A well-respected Marine once said, and I quote, "Those with less of a sense of service to the nation never understand it when men and women of character step forward to look danger and adversity straight in the eye, refusing to blink or give ground even to their own deaths. The protected cannot begin to understand the price paid so they and their families can sleep, be safe, and free at night." That was John F. Kelly, retired General of the United States Marine Corps, now serving as the Chief of Staff for the White House. November 10, 1775 is the birthday of the Marine Corps. So yesterday, I, along with all my brothers and sisters in the Marine Corps, turned 242 years old. I know I don't look a day over 21. For nearly 30 years of service to my country, I have personally seen and experienced the things that I'm speaking about today, especially from the lenses of the Marine Corps. There have been many changes in the Marine Corps over those 242 years. I view those changes as a recognition of the changing role of Marines in the global war on terrorism and our capabilities. The Commandant of the Marine Corps and the Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps constantly remind us that the Marine Corps has two missions. That is to make Marines and to win battles. The Marine Corps prides itself on many things, but one thing in particular is the motivation, tenacity, discipline, and ambition of its Marines. On a continuous basis, Marines exercise an ever-increasing degree of maturity, leadership, and professionalism. Women and men of generation past recognize that transformation that has taken place within the Marine Corps. The foundation of our service today was trailblazed by women and men who served during World War I and World War II. They probably never imagined the profound effect their enlistment will have on future generations. Trailblazers of the Armed Forces of America run up and down the ranks, in and out of combat zones, to include the ultimate sacrifice. Just as these great men of our Marine Corps have carved their way through history, leaving their permanent mark, the great men and women of the Army, Navy, Air Force, and Coast Guard have carved their way through history, leaving their permanent mark as well. Together, the Armed Forces of America, we support and defend the Constitution of the United States as we serve shoulder to shoulder with our sister services. Women and men are equal assets to the overall mission in defense of our country. We never forget the uniform we wear washes away all differences as we serve together as brothers and sisters. When America needs the armed forces of America, the proud men and women of the Coast Guard, Army, Navy, Air Force, and of course, the Marines together answer the call. I am proud to serve my country in the United States Marine Corps, thoroughly indoctrinated in love of God, Corps, and country. All service members, thank you. All service members, active, retired, veterans, and the reserves contribute to the fight, understands the mission and the cost of freedom. That diversity of people working together for a common cause is why it is such a great honor to be a part of this institution. If there is only one reason to honor veterans, then it is for this one. They fought and are still fighting for us. John F. Kennedy said, as we express our gratitude, we must never forget that the highest appreciation is not to utter words, but to live by them. This community and other communities across the United States and its territories have opened your hearts and extended hugs of love by recognizing service members all around the country within presentations of awards and medals to many of them. You have added their names to monuments, named buildings and ships for their heroic actions and service as a means of honoring their courage and their bravery. Nothing can ever replace the emptiness left behind due to the loss of a service member, and no number of medals and rivers can comfort the ones they leave behind. On this day, people throughout the country will gather together and remember, honor, and pay gratitude to those who serve and who have served and who are serving our country. We must pray for God's help in broadening and deepening their peace, joy, and the freedom that we enjoy. Ceremonies like this are important. Reminders to the service members to include those who have given the ultimate sacrifice and their precious family. You are not forgotten, and yes, we remember. Veterans and veteran family members are special because of their sacrifices. The President of the United States recently signed a proclamation declaring the month of November 2017 as National Veterans and Military Families Month, stating, during this month, we honor the significant contributions made by American service members, their families, and their loved ones. I would like to read a paragraph that recently touched my heart regarding families. Our military families endure many hardships along with those who defend our nation. They are separated from their loved ones for months on end and frequently relocate across the country and around the world. They often live far from extended families, and they know what it is like to celebrate holidays and milestones with an empty seat at the table. Many military spouses face the task of making ends meet while their loved ones are away and of securing new employment with each change in duty stations. Children of the service members often grow up living a nomadic life, periodically calling a new place home and adjusting to different schools, trying out for new sports teams and making new friends. In these lives of frequent change and transition, however, our incredible military families not only serve, but they thrive. Service members and veterans make up 1% of the population of the United States of America. They volunteer to serve their country and do not want special treatment. No matter the branch of service, veterans have a special bond with other veterans. They speak a language that only veterans understand. They come to the aid of each other as they would their own family members. They see each other as brothers and sisters, brothers from another mother and sisters from another mister. They do not abandon each other on the battlefield or when they're back at home. They come to each other's aid when needed, even if they don't know each other. To the veterans, from this day forth, when you hear the words, "Thank you for your service," just remember, it is coming from a place of gratefulness, understanding, humility, and appreciation. I want you to remember the importance of this day and put that in the forefront of your mind and deep in your hearts. Respond with a smile and say, "My pleasure." Thank you. God bless you. God bless the active reserve service members. God bless our retired veterans. God bless the families, and God bless the United States of America. Simple Fidelis.
We now approach the end of our ceremony and the moment everyone has been waiting for. On behalf of the Anthem Community Council, thank you for joining us today to honor our veterans. We are especially appreciative of our speakers for representing their branches of the military. Sergeant Major Simmons, United States Marine Corps. Sergeant First Class Gray, United States Army. Admiral Ron Tucker and Pastor Matt Harrington, United States Navy. Shana Edwards, and if she were here today, my sister Emily Kohl, United States Coast Guard. Special thanks to the Junior Air Force cadets and their leaders representing our 5th and final service branch. As we approach the historic 11th minute of the 11th hour, and as the sun's rays shine upon the Great Seal of the United States, I ask you to think about our nation's military history and the millions who have served to protect our freedom. Please take the time to thank our veterans each and every time you see them. We know that each one of you wants to witness the solar spotlight so that everyone may see, and out of concern for your safety, we must ask that you all remain seated and look to the LED screen where the spotlight will be shown live and in real time. Please, 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 allow us some time to remove the stanchions and rope safely following the spotlight, and do not crowd the memorial or the cadets once the memorial has been reopened around 11:30. Please also take care and have patience when approaching the memorial, and please do not ever walk or stand on the beautiful glass mosaic.